Hello, this is Joanne Hewins from lovetocreate.typepad.com. You've probably seen this picture out on Facebook and Pinterest about the new Ornate Garden Suite that is now available to everyone. Today I'm going to share with you how to make this card using that suite, but let's talk about it for just a moment before we get started. This suite has 2 stamp sets and 2 dies that go with it. The first stamp set I'm going to share has the pictures or the objects on there, and it's called Ornate Style. Now, the dies that go with the Ornate Style are the layering or the Ornate Borders dies. There are 9 of them, and just some beautiful, beautiful different borders that you can try. Excellent. And then the next one is the Ornate Thanks stamp set with lots and lots of layers. This is called the Ornate Layers dies. There are 8 of those. And we're going to be using today with our card both of the stamp sets. And we're going to be using the layering Ornate Layers dies in our card today. The suite also has a combo pack of ribbon that comes in old olive and terracotta tile, and these are great tieable, pliable ribbons. Wonderful. The designer series paper, now I've used some of it, so they won't all be full pieces, but I'll just kind of put those one at a time down and let you see just how pretty. It reminds me a little bit of the 70s, the Daisies in here. This is a specialty paper, so it has some that has the gold accents on it. I think that might be my favorite right there, or maybe this one. And look, I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but one of the new in colors is in this paper right here. It's called Bumblebee. And this one, this is one with the gold in it, another gold, and then this is just a green. The greens and that I believe are mint macaron and old olive, and then this sheet. So you can see the papers are gorgeous. And then there's also these gilded gems that are part of the suite. We won't be using all of that today to make our card, but some. So our card base is going to be soft sea foam. I'm using this card with color fusers, and our colors this month were soft sea foam, balmy blue, granny apple green, and then blueberry bushel, which I used for most of my stamping. So this is 5.5 by 8.5. I'm going to match my corners and then press that, and then I'll just use a bone folder to make sure I have a good fold on my base. And that's all I'm going to do for that right this minute. I am going to use the Ornate Layers dies. I'm going to be using this one today for this layer here. And I went ahead and cut that out for you. So I have that there. And I will tell you that I did have to go back and forth several times to get all of the pieces out. Of course, it's going to depend on your die cutting machine that you're using and how much pressure it has. You can always turn it over very, very carefully after you've gotten it through a time or two if you're still having some problems, and run it through upside down. You just want to be very careful not to move the die, or you'll end up with a big mess. But sometimes that is helpful if you need it. So I've glued this down to the center of the card. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and stamp this large flower. I'm going to do that on a piece of Whisper White, and I'm going to stamp it in the Blueberry Bushel. So since this is a large stamp, I'm going to lay it flat, and I'm going to ink it from here. And that looks like it's pretty good. My pad's pretty juicy. And of course, there it is all over me. Already, we'll hope I don't get all that on the card. And okay, I think I might have just stuck my head in there. If I did, I'm sorry. Okay. And letting that dry just a few minutes, I'm going to go ahead and bring in the thank you stamp. This is from the Ornate Thanks. I'm going to stamp that on a piece of scrap white paper that I have. Also in the Blueberry Bushel. And I want to make sure this stamp is covered really well. Okay. Aha, that looks great. Now I'm going to pull in my Ornate Layers again, and I'm going to cut that out with this very thin, this is a stitched rectangle. So I'll lay that there for you to look at all the pretty flowers in there, and I'm going to cut this to the side. Now the thank you fills up that stamp. I'll show you in just a minute. Okay, here's this, and you can see it takes up just about the whole stamp just to get that. But I love the way that looks. So we'll set that aside, and we're going to work on coloring this. Now it's going to take a little while, and I apologize. I thought about doing it ahead of time, but I just thought you might want to see my coloring. I'm not the best colorer in the world. I do not profess to be, but we'll do what we can with it. I'm using the light and dark soft seafoam, the light and dark Balmy Blue, and then I have actually two lights and one dark of the Granny Apple. We'll see if one of those might not be working so to color that. So I'm going to start with the light Granny Apple, and I'm going to start with the leaves for this. So I'm just going to kind of color inside the blue outline of this. And yes, this, yeah, it's going to take a while. How many of you like to color? Because this is the perfect stamp set if you do. I can imagine this in so many different color combinations. It's kind of exciting. And I will share with you that when I first saw this, I was not impressed. I'm not a fancy person, but I don't think this card right here looks so fancy. Maybe it does, but it wasn't all that hard to make. So now I'm going to take the darker Granny Apple and just color up a little bit on that. I think I might, some of my markers are a little worn, and I hesitate to use the bigger part, but I'll pull that out and try it. Okay, and I really don't blend a super lot on this, just enough to get some of the edges smoothed out a little bit. Okay, and we'll go over to these. I am not exactly sure what that is down in there. I'm going to color it as part of the leaf. Now, these blends, just like our other markers that we have a fat side and a thin side. You can look at those pretty easily and tell the difference. There are two ways. The picture shows you the fatter end and the smaller end, and then the line here is also thin and thick. So that's a good indicator of which end you might be pulling out. So I'm just going to try to blend the dark and the light just a little. And then I'm going to turn this around. And just forgive me if I go out of the lines. I'm trying not to take as much time as I usually do on this. Just so this doesn't last forever. But maybe this will give you an idea about how someone who really doesn't have a lot of the technique or the knowledge about how to shade and do that kind of stuff. And I think it actually turns out looking okay. And I kind of do the light to dark to light technique to color everything. And this is our last group of leaves. I hope all of you are doing okay and that you're safe. I hope that you're at home if you can be. If you are one of those people who still have to get out and work and maybe you're in harm's way, please be careful. Take care of yourself, and let me just say we appreciate you. I'm doing my very, very best to stay home and be safe. I am a senior citizen. I hate to think of myself that way, though. Anybody else feel that way? You always think they're talking about the other people, the old people. Okay, so that takes care of that. Now I'm going to work on the daisies. I'm going to color the center of the daisies with the dark sea foam. That's just still a very light color. I see the tips of this are a little smashed. Okay, and then I'm going to color these in the light Balmy Blue. Now, while these have dies for the borders and the layers, they don't have dies for these flowers. So we'll be also fussy cutting this out, and that's going to take some time also. So if you're not interested in all of this minute stuff, I usually try to work ahead, but there wouldn't have been much to show you. Maybe you want to fast forward in a few minutes and I just dropped it. Thank goodness it didn't go on my card. And I am just putting a little bit of color where the lines are in my stamp. Not being very careful. I just kind of like the way that looks, and I'm going to go back in and do a little bit around the center and come back with my lighter color and maybe blend that out just a little, but not really much. Okay. All right, now I'm going to do these smaller blue flowers. I don't know what they are, but they sure are cute. And again, I'm going to come in with the soft sea foam and do my centers on these. And I'm going to try to do those kind of quickly. Again, with the Balmy Blue, I'll start with the light. And I'm going to kind of color these into 3 different clusters that they're in. And I noticed that I've gone out of lines a little bit here and there. Blends are kind of forgiving if you're in the middle of something. I think I'll just go ahead and color in this cluster too. And I am trying not to go over the center to leave that sea foam. It doesn't show up really well, but and then I'm going to go over again these little places that are in the stamp. And I don't think I'm even going to blend that. I think I'm going to leave it the way it is. And we'll do this other little cluster. Sometimes I feel like they kind of blend themselves a little bit. Okay, and we'll do again those smaller little lines. Okay, and now we're ready for those larger flowers. They're going to be colored the soft sea foam. So I'm going to just start first laying down color all over. And this is a very soft color. It's not going to show up a lot. Okay, and then I'll do with the darker again. I'm just going to work on the lines. It's really hard to see that you've done much of anything. I colored a little darker there in the center. Okay, I don't know if you can tell that I did much on that or not. But I like it. I think it looks pretty good. Now I did not, this one I colored the center with a Stampin' Right marker for the blueberry, that had the blueberry bushel in it. I have neglected to bring that, so I'm just going to bring the darker Balmy Blue in here and color that center. And then we'll finish up this flower. And maybe it didn't take forever. I think I need to order a new soft sea foam marker. It's kind of lost its point. And then maybe I'll try the smaller end and see if that shows up a little better. Not really. And I might have missed some. I'm not seeing a lot of difference in that. Okay, so that finishes up the coloring. I'll move my blends aside. I really do love blends. And then the big thing left to do is to cut this out. So I'm just going to cut around some of the extra on my paper. I'll use those scraps for something else. And we'll get going. I like to leave a little bit of a white border on there. And it really does do better if you move the paper more than you move the scissors. I hope I've got that where you can see. And it's a little forgiving if you're not perfect, which I'm not. I don't know if anybody else is. Maybe they are. Okay. I really do love this Ornate Thanks stamp set. I like that it has cursive writing, although I'm beginning to wonder if there are some people who will be able to read it, because here in the U.S., I don't know about other places, they're not really teaching cursive anymore. I'm a retired teacher, so that kind of alarms me. But anyway, I really do like the font of that stamp. I like the boldness of the thank yous. And these small phrases, I think, can be used for other things besides saying thank you. So it might be a little bit more versatile than you think at first glance. So instead of going way down in these little sections, I'm just going to leave them as they are. And I am trying to turn the paper, or especially around some of these smaller curves. I think I'm just going to go around that instead of going way down inside. Some of this is going to be covered by our thank you there through the center. Go back and get that little hump out of there a little bit. Just something that can't really be rushed. But I think if you leave a little bit of a white border, it almost hides imperfections in your cutting better than if you tried to cut it right on the line. Just my perception. And we're almost done. Yay! Okay. Now, so we have our thank you. Well, can't move it. We have our flowers, and in the interest of time, I did do these 3 small flowers ahead of time and cut those out. This is the stamp that I used, and again, I stamped it in the Blueberry Bushel. Let me pull in this stamp set real quick while I was talking about this font of it. My friend, we're going to be using today. Seriously, a lot, you're amazing. There are a lot of things that can be used besides just saying thank you. So I want you to take a good look at that one. It's a good stamp set. All right. Now, we're getting ready to place all of this on our card, and we'll be using glue and dimensionals for this. But you can see I have the word my friend stamped here. So what I'm going to do first is kind of lay my card the way that I'm going to want it. Okay, on here. And that's going to help me to determine where I want to stamp the my friend. So had it where I thought I wanted it, and then I moved it when I moved my hands. But I think I about want it like that. So I have these stamp my friend. And again, I'm using the Blueberry Bushel ink. And so I want to stamp that right under where that would be. And of course, I messed that up. Okay, this card is going to be a little bit different than that one. we're going to put the thank you here, and it's going to say, my friend, thank you. You know, that's what we do as stampers. If we make a mess, we figure out a way to fix it. So I'm actually going to stand up and see if I can do that a little bit better. There, I think that'll work. Might not be perfect, but it will be okay. And you'll get the idea of how to do things. So let's take these things away, and I'm going to put dimensionals on the back of my flowers here. Some of these are cut in half, so I'll put a few out there. Now, I did not put my frame on dimensionals. Just didn't want to. So have to think about mailing, because these days we need to mail our cards. We need to share our craft and share our love. There are a lot of people who are trapped and would appreciate a little something in the mail. Okay, so there's that. Now for the thank you, part of that is going to be on top of the flowers here. So what I want to do is put a little bit of glue on that part, but I want to put dimensionals behind the thank. So we'll put some dimensionals here, and then some glue out here. Let me take those off. And then this is going to go, make sure it's as straight as I can get it. Let me look at that. I think that's good. My friend, thank you. And then we're going to put a dimensional on the back of 2 of these flowers. And then the third one we're going to glue down. And since I've changed my card a little bit, let's see how we want to do that. We're going to put, I think I'm going to put the flower here. And then I think I'll put them in the corner for this other one. Let me put the glued one down first. Okay, I've had that upside down all that time. Got to get a little bit on there. So I'm going to put it here. And then this one I'm going to put this way. So those cards are a little bit different, but I think they're both beautiful. They both say thank you. Now in the original one, this is what the inside of mine looked like. It says, your kindness is so loved, and then I stamped additional flowers and just colored those right on my Whisper White. This white is 4 by 5 1/4. So there you go. You get a little bit of a look of the Ornate Garden Suite, the bundles. So the Ornate Thanks is bundled with the layers, Ornate Layers, and the, oops, sorry about this, the Ornate Style is layered with the Ornate Borders. So think about these, and if I can help you, I would love to. If you'll go to lovetocreate.typepad.com, I'll be glad to help you with your ordering. And also, please go to my blog each day this week. I'm going to do a card. In addition to this one, I'm going to do a card and video as part of my April class that I'm not getting to have at my home. So tune in and see what you think of those. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.